Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, I am back for another movie review of A Quiet Place Part 2. If you're new here, I just done a review of Part 1 and kind of get a refresh perspective of the storyline to prepare for the A Quiet Place Day 1. And I'm not going to try to talk too much about this. I remember in my review that when I was kind of thinking about how I felt on part two, I did say it was okay as long as it was good in the first one. So I was like, well, I'll watch it again and kind of get a new perspective, because sometimes when you watch a movie and you watch it maybe 3 or 4 years later or a couple months later, you have a different perspective. You see it differently. You're like, oh, okay, it's not as bad as I thought it was, or wow, it's horrible. You know what I'm saying? It's that kind of lens that I've experienced in my days of watching movies all these years. And it still doesn't do any good for me. The first one is the best. And while I was watching it, I was not trying to nitpick it, but I was trying to think, okay, what is wrong with this movie? Why is it not capturing my interest? Why I'm not invested in this story? The characters are the same. There is a couple more characters. There's one character played by a great actor. What's his name? Cillian Murphy. He played in Oppenheimer. He is a great actor, man. And he was in this, and in certain scenes, it didn't even look like him. But it is him, right? And he done a great job. But I did not care about him and the family, the relationship there. Like, they had a bond that they had. They didn't introduce him in the first one. He wasn't there. This is in the first scene of the movie. You can see how they interact with each other before the fall of the aliens. And when they had to relocate from the farm, they found him, and they tried to find ways to survive together and all this. And at one point, they had this idea they're gonna go to a radio station to use that the daughter's hearing aid and put it on a big microphone so we could disable all the aliens so they can survive in the movie, right? Of course, it's not simple. They have to go through a lot of things. And that's the thing about sequels. When it comes to sequels anymore, I'm very, very cautious, right? Because it's hard to capture a lot in a bottle twice, or 3 times, 4 times, as much as you see in movies. And I still had, I guess, a little bit of expectations or hope, I guess. Even though it wasn't like very high, but okay, this is a cool new introduction of IP, a new perspective of, I wouldn't say horror, but kind of a cool, like an M. Night Shyamalan kind of feel, if that makes sense. It kind of landed on me, right? But the reason for it, and I thought more about it, is one, I didn't care about the new characters they developed. And there's one part at the end, it's not a spoiler, but there is a boat dock that they was trying to get on to go to the where the radio station is, to use the hearing aid to disable the creatures. And out of nowhere, these people come out like trying to show their authority or whatever. It's kind of like the local people, whatever. After and I expect this going to be that way, and trying to prevent them to do whatever they're doing and it just didn't feel. It felt very hollow. It felt a lot of fluff. I didn't feel like, oh my god, they're going to. It felt, what it felt like? It felt like a Walking Dead episode. Walking Dead just really put a bad taste in my mouth after, I would say, 4 seasons. I jumped ship after that. I think it was 4th or 5th season. I jumped ship because it's just that particular. I don't know if it's played out too much. Of they're not too concerned about the zombies. They're more concerned about the people. And maybe that's what their vision was, is to be more concerned about the people more so than the monsters. I know people can probably be worse than monsters, trying to survive, and you trying to say, can I trust this person? It's that it's interesting to a certain point, but I think the reason the first one was very successful, I think, and very appealing, because it was very tight, very simple, and very interesting. You know what I'm saying? Because these special kind of creatures, they have certain advantages, disadvantages, and you try to figure it out, and you actually care about these characters and all that. Now, I would say last 10 minutes of this movie was good. The beginning of it was really good, and the middle of it, the end of it was good. The middle of it was very hollow. It didn't have a, dare I say, a soul. The daughter, she actually, she wanted to go to the radio station, and they're like, no. And she said, I'm gonna do it myself, and she left. And then Cillian Murphy character had to go get her and help her and bring her back, and then find a way to go back to that station. And at that point, it felt there was a couple subplots. You had a subplot of them. They had a subplot of Emily Blunt. You had all kinds of subplots in this story, and it wasn't watered down. It wasn't confusing. It's just a lot of things going on, and it just didn't land. I mean, it was okay. I really probably wouldn't rewatch it again. Honestly, I would rewatch the first one. The first one, I just think that I don't know. I'm not blaming nobody. But the first thing I thought in my head was the studio interference. I know that's a cop-out. I know a lot of people say that a lot, but I honestly think it was. I think the studio's like, hey, you gotta do this. It's too boring. Put some stuff, more things, more people, and all that, to keep this IP, 4 or 5, not seasons, but prequels or whatever, because this is a good thing. I don't know. I might be way off base, but it just didn't. And I love the director. I love John Krasinski, I guess you pronounce his name. I think he's a great actor. He's a great actor, but I think he's a great writer and a great director, in my humble opinion. And I think he, in my personal opinion again, just an outside person looking in, just a guy on the internet that know nothing about movies, but I love stories. I feel like he really took his time with the first one. He had all his he was very invested. He took time and developed these characters and this movie and the story, and it was his baby, right? He was it felt that way, right? And I can see it on the screen. The second one, it didn't have that genuine, protection of this is my baby. It felt like it was more of a corporate sequel to that movie, if that makes sense. I might be way off base. Maybe there was no studio interference, but that's what it felt to me. It just felt hollow. But let me also, before I end this video, so I was curious about the numbers. I'm a numbers guy. I don't like math, but I like how you can see the numbers just like the studios do, to see how it does. If it does really well, money wise, the studio's like, oh yeah, you're gonna have a sequel, right? We all know that. So the first one came out in 2018 of April. Domestic gross, it made $188 million. Worldwide, it was $334 million. A Quiet Place Part 2 came out May 26th, 2021. Domestic gross was $160 million. Now, of course, it's not as much as the first one, but still not too bad. Just like worldwide, the worldwide gross was $296 million. Now, the Quiet Place Day 1, I don't know if it's still in theaters. Today is July 9th, 2024. So I don't know if it's still in theaters. But right now, from the numbers.com, domestic gross is $93 million. Worldwide is $177 million. I don't know. I mean, that's the thing that I don't know why. I don't. I'm gonna watch it because I like that particular story. I like it. I'm very interested in that particular story arc of those aliens, and they have that particular, advantage. If they hear anything, they'll come. And this is a city, so a city is a whole lot more busier and louder than a countryside, right? So it's a different altogether story. Because where they lived in, a little small town or a countryside, so there's not a lot of hustle and bustle. So it is an interesting story just by looking on the paper of it happening and follow these people in the city. So I am interested to see what happens there. But back to the second one. I don't know why people didn't go. I know 2018 was, quite a few years ago. But I don't know. It's something has happened after 2020. Now, we all know what happened in 2020, but in the box office, I don't know if people still want to go to theaters. You see what I'm saying? I don't know if people... I'm kind of curious how successful it was on, to people watch it or rent it or stream it, or I would love to see numbers that way, but they don't release that, to the public. But I'm curious if people rewatch part 2. I know I probably won't. Part 1 is really, really good. I still enjoy it. I still was very amazed just how well done it was, right? But anywho, I know I went kind of further than I wanted to with this review, but it kind of shows. I mean, it's 188 million in 2018, 160 million with part 2. It's a little bit of a drop, but it broke 100 million, right? So I don't know how much. Let me see if it shows the budget for these. Because sometimes it tells you what their budget was for it. DVD sales was 12 million. Domestic was 24. Let's go back and see what the second one was with the DVD sales. I mean, DVD sales is not as good as it used to be. But anyway, my system's slow today. But let's go back to part 2. Let's go. Oh, DVD sales a little bit. Domestic was 13 million. Oh, that's not too bad. I'm trying to see. I don't think they'll give you. Oh, okay. Here they go. Hang on one second. I see. Let me do this. So the production of the budget for Quiet Place 2 was 61 million. Now that does not count the advertisement, all the commercials and stuff like that, trailers. So you add another probably 50 million, maybe. So about 100 million, give or take 110 total. So it broke a little bit, got a little bit of coin back. So let's go to the first one and see what the budget was. That was. So 61 for part 2. All right, let's go here. Sorry, folks, I'm just doing this on the fly here. Oh, wow. Take a guess how much the budget for A Quiet Place 1 was. From here, now it could be different, is production budget was $17 million. That's pretty awesome. That is really, really good. I mean, and that's a whole different thing with just, I'll always say this on this channel, is it appears to me when the budget is very low, the story is a whole lot better. It appears that way to me. I might be way off base. Maybe I don't know what I'm talking about. But just as a general person who watches movies, I mean, come on. I mean, look at the, I mean, trying to get off a rant, just bear with me. Like these big Marvel movies or even Star Wars movies, they are 200, 300, dare I say $400 million. Now, I don't know about the Flash movie. Don't give me a start on that. So much CGI, so much money in budgets, and it flops or it does not do good at all. Is it worth it? I mean, of course, they can write off of taxes and all that stuff. But as a person like me, I would never revisit that stuff ever again. Because there's nothing there. It won't age well. It's just there, right? It might have a certain number of people that's like, oh, it was the best film of all. Okay, that's cool, bro. But anywho, $17 million production company, a budget. So, counting advertisement, that's probably $20 million. So they definitely made a lot of money back on the first one. The second one, they still probably had a little bit of money back, but I'm wondering what the budget is for day one. Let me see here. Give me a moment here. This computer is older than Moses. But it's just very interesting to kind of look at it that way. Like, okay, that was 12 million. That was 61 million. I don't think it's got that information released yet. Yeah, they haven't released what the budget was for it. Sometimes they don't do it till a couple months afterwards. Opening weekend was $52 million. I don't know. Yeah, it doesn't tell you what for some reason it don't tell you what the budget was. It's just very. I'll see. Like I said, I'm not trying to judge it day one. The only thing that's interesting is the location of where it takes place. It's in the city, so it's going to be 10 times more obstacles they got to go through because of the sound of cars and glass and just everything makes noise. So I'm very curious on that particular story. But really, I have really low hopes. I don't have no expectations of it. And whenever it's released on digital to watch it, I will give you a review of it and give my opinion on it. So other than that, if you lasted this long, I greatly appreciate it. And I always do this every so often. If you've lasted this long, give me a hashtag, a Quiet Place 3. And if I see a hashtag Quiet Place 3, I know that you watched this long. If you haven't, that's cool too. But anywho, thank you for lasting this long. I'll talk to you next time, and when I get the review of that, of Quiet Place Day 1. Catch y'all later.